Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
On the afternoon of January 6th, 2021, as I watched the horrifying insurrection unfolding at the United States Capitol, a haunting thought crept across my mind. Now, we have our own gunpowder treason plot. Earlier that day, I was preparing a literature lesson on the historical context of William Shakespeare's Macbeth. The events that played out in England from 1603 to 1606 seemed eerily similar to what was happening here and now. Plagues and pandemics, tense transfers of political power between royalty and presidents, and now, seats of government being invaded with violent intent. The swirling confluence of past and present brought a film to my mind I hadn't thought about for a long time. V for Vendetta, the Wachowskis' adaptation of Alan Moore's classic graphic novel from the 1980s. Admittedly, my memories of the movie were pretty vague. I hadn't seen it since it came out and I was still in high school. At the time, V for Vendetta was memorable mostly because of the action scenes that looked cool and the tongue-twister V speech that sounded cool.
Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate.
Watching the film with fresh eyes in 2021, however, was an utterly surreal experience. In many ways, despite actually being set in the 2020s, V for Vendetta is a story stuck in the early 2000s. It was odd, for instance, diving into a world ostensibly set in our present, in which neither smartphones nor social media exist.
Formality and soliciting your submission.
We need cameras.
And ankle-length black coats are still cool. Thank the Wachowskis for that one. On the other hand, though, the film feels relevant and specific to our current world in ways that are simultaneously both prescient and cognitively dissonant.
I'm a God-fearing Englishman, and I'm goddamn proud of it.
That's quite enough of that, thank you very much.
For example, an inciting event in the story is the outbreak of the St. Mary's virus, a weaponized pathogen that kills 80,000 people in the United Kingdom and paves the way for the Norse Fire Party to seize control of the country. This tragedy in the story feels both uncanny and, to be honest, almost depressingly quaint, as we endure a global pandemic which has, to date, claimed the lives of over 100,000 people in the UK, 500,000 in the United States, and 2.5 million worldwide. Similarly, late in the film, a heinous police killing of a young girl is the final catalyst for the citizens of London to don their Guy Fawkes masks and march on Parliament. Today, however, the idea that one horrific police shooting would mobilize a seemingly universal popular uprising sadly reads as beyond the pale of plausibility and realistic optimism, especially when said popular uprising is met with practically zero resistance from a militarized police force. All of this brings me back again to the bizarre collision of reality and fiction. A frenzied mob's violent assault on the Capitol and democracy, juxtaposed with one man's anarchist vendetta against the Houses of Parliament and fascism. All the while, I am, and we are, forced to watch and try to make sense of it. In the film, V is obviously intended to be seen as the hero of the story, but he's by no means an uncomplicated hero. Throughout the story, he employs methods of terrorism, murder, and deceit to achieve his goals.
You're going to kill me now.
I killed you 10 minutes ago, while you slept.
His means, and quite possibly his ends, are morally ambiguous at best.
You did this to me. You cut my hair. You tortured me. You tortured me.
Which makes Evie's assertion at the end of the film perhaps more troublingly true than we realize, or would like to admit.
Who is you? And me. use all of us.
So, when it comes to V for Vendetta and other stories like it that peer into the not-so-distant future, hoping to glean some kind of truth, it's worthwhile to consider that as our present time fades into the past, and the past future becomes our present, we must reckon with a serious question. What is this world we live in now? And what do we want this world to become?